Hey guys, so today we're going to talk about in the breakdown sequencing. We're just going to have two examples of sequencing. And the first here is with a reverse quickie. Let's just break down this reverse quickie first. But the idea of sequencing is to condition defenders into defending a certain way for a certain play, and then maybe halfway through the game changing it. It's literally just it's getting defenders to do what you want, whether that's pulling a hard corner, trying to go man on. Whereas in this case, the Mets here, team with the ball, two middles, they're running a reverse quickie, and they're doing it really well. This is the grand finals of the under-20s at national championships. So we can see engaging this middle here and then throwing the ball, or checking the ball, which means this middle's got to stay up. And we're hoping to get the second middle up as well. So how do they do that? Yep. They keep throwing the ball to get that other middle up. All right. He starts to get back into a good touch, pre-touch position, but he ends up doing a spin. So he's turned his back on the ball and they split hard open side to this player. All right. And that's a reverse quickie. To know more about the reverse quickie, check out my short side versus open side quickie video. But they run this reverse quickie and now they step hard and it becomes a foot race onto the open side with the middle that's sort of just done that 360. And that's a try. Good honesty there from the Sharks player. So they run that a couple of times. And, you run that a couple of times and the idea of it being you want these middles to start stretching out. You want him to be defending here because he thinks the open side quickie is coming. And then your options are very different. So they'll start reading that play naturally because they want to stop getting scored like that. And then what do you shift to? This. All right. So let's have a look at this. So the same setup, the setup's the exact same, except they're running the reverse quickie on the other side. So we get this middle. All right, here's the reverse quickie now. Splitting hard this way. But what the defense is seeing is they've just been scored, and you can see the time. It's a lot later in the game. So they've probably seen that they've been scored on that open side a few times. So everyone's going to start shifting over. Okay, this person that makes the touch, he's all of a sudden going to flip his body and just chase open side. And that's what happens here. Picks up, he's squared his feet now, so he's turned flat. This guy starts chasing over. This link all of a sudden now wants to bite in because the play's always gone to that open side, but he dummies this way and he takes on the short side. And it's good practice for this link to then change his angle to get on the outside of his opposite number. And there it is there. And you can see this middle here, he's completely beaten. So even if this link decided to man on and the winger decided to man on, the dummy half just got a free run with a horrible arrow. Free run into the in goal until he can find someone. All right, so that's an example of sequencing. Another example is, doesn't have to be this play. So that's very important. You can literally do any play to sequence as long as you do you do that a couple of times, then you change the option. All right, so we can have this one here. So this is the grand final. I've analyzed this game. This is one of my first videos, actually, and you can see 11 seconds in, so it's likely off the tap-off. Doyleson run this play, and they just bomb long. Okay? And you can see that the guy that threw the pass didn't really ball play. He took one or two steps, and he just pegged the ball. All right, so gets the ball, throw. Okay, they do nearly score there. And look, you do this, you might score. Okay, but that's not the point. If you score, great. But if you don't score, what you're doing is you're keeping that winger wide. You're keeping him wide enough for him to chase that winger. So here's literally a minute later. They go again. And look where the winger is. So a lot of people might go, oh, that's a great touch. But look how wide he was from the pass here. So the distance between these two players is pretty big, And once you notice that, when you start bombing long, then you can look at either going at a link hull or throwing a passive. And if you look at what happens later in the game, they run a passive. Okay, and that's probably the difference with that sequencing. That's the difference between the winger making that touch and not making that touch. And there's a lot of other ways you can sequence. You can, if you notice teams are trying to man on when you're scooting from dummy half, you just take on the short side. Do that a couple of times, and they'll have to chase you down. And their pulling of the corner will start increasing their speed, which means you can step back open side later in the game. There's no hard and fast rule about how you sequence a defense, as long as you don't just keep running the same play throughout the whole game, because then all you're doing is conditioning the defense to defend you better. So make sure you've always got some tricks up your sleeve as the game progresses, especially if you're playing in a 40-minute game. But yeah, that's sequencing. So we might be able to touch on that a little bit more. I'll get some more examples because it's just 2 examples that I quickly found while I was checking out some games. And but yeah, that's sequencing. So it could be as simple as, sorry, I know I'm talking a lot, but it could be as simple as just diving at the line a couple of times. Running a quickie, dive. Running a quickie, dive. Okay, what's that going to do? It's going to cause all defenders to start squeezing in because you might have scored a dive try. You might have scored 2. They're just going to come in, and then you can rip an out ball or play a little bit more expansive off the top of that once you've got them where you want it. But that's sequencing, guys. Thanks for watching. Appreciate your support. Don't forget to subscribe, be a member, do all that sort of stuff, and we'll see you on the next breakdown.